Welcome to the Canadian Beef Cattle Podcast, presented by the Beef Cattle Research Council. The most popular content from beefresearch.ca, available on the go. Before we get into this week's episode, a quick message from the BCRC.
Knowing where you are helps you plan where you want to go with your beef herd, whether your goals include heavier weaning weights, a more uniform coat color, or other traits. Genetic change happens through sire and replacement selection alongside culling. Some goals are shaped by genetics and others by environment and management. The Beef Cattle Research Council's 7-part online course will guide you in tracking genetic improvements through practical record keeping, helping you turn herd data into informed decisions. Find the link to the Tracking Genetic Improvements course in the show notes. This episode is titled, 5 Things You Can Do During Drought to Manage Your Herd, Pastures, and Health.
Hi, I'm Stacey Domalewski with the Beef Cattle Research Council. Despite recent rainstorms in some regions, drought has once again hit hard in many parts of Canada. Many areas are dealing with multiple years of dry conditions. If you're managing through a difficult season, the following strategies can help protect your beef cattle operation and your well-being. There is no one-size-fits-all plan to deal with drought, but there are some key things you can do to help manage your pastures, cattle, and health during a drought. Number 1, take stock of your feed and forage. The first step in managing drought is to know what you have on hand. This includes standing forage in pastures, carryover hay or silage, annual crops that could be harvested for feed, alternative feed sources such as byproducts or salvaged crops like canola. Be aware of any products that have been used on that crop. Fungicides, herbicides, or other chemicals used on crops may have withdrawal dates for livestock consumption. If you're wondering what to pay for those salvaged crops, there is a calculator in the show notes. Complete a feed inventory within the next few days. Calculate your current feed supply in terms of days or weeks of feed remaining at normal feeding rates. This timeline will drive all other decisions. Test your feed quality as soon as possible. Feed testing is even more critical in drought years to help make feeding decisions. There is a tool to help you interpret your feed test results in the show notes. Number 2, use grazing management to your advantage. Grazing management can help pastures not only survive during a drought, but also improve recovery after one. Here's some things to consider. Consider grouping cattle together when rotational grazing. This allows pastures additional time to rest between moves. Use smaller paddocks. If you have a smaller herd or have already combined groups, using smaller paddocks to graze cattle can also increase the rest time of paddocks not currently being grazed. Protect your soils by leaving litter or plant residue behind when grazing. This helps trap moisture that does fall, reduces water loss through evaporation, and prevents bare soil from being exposed to the sun and heating up. Choose your pasture rotation carefully. Knowing which pastures have species that can recover from increased grazing pastures, so things like crested wheat, and grazing those versus the species that will not respond as well to grazing pressure. Keep an eye out for toxic plants. As forages become less available, cattle may start to eat plants they would otherwise ignore. Check pastures for toxic plants and consider fencing them out of problem areas. If you're looking for a list of some of these plants and what they can cause, you can find one in the show notes. As tempting as it may be to graze pastures harder than normal during a drought, management practices that promote pasture rest can lead to more overall forage being available and quicker recovery times when rain does hit. Number 3, don't guess water and feed quality. Drought can significantly impact water quality, particularly in dugouts and ponds. Testing your water sources monthly or more often if something seems off can help prevent wrecks from happening. Fencing off water sources and pumping to a remote site, such as a trough, will improve water quality and reduce water losses that can occur when livestock have access to non-fenced sources. Be sure to look at toxin levels in both your feed and water. In years of drought, feed can be high in nitrates and sulfates as well, so make sure you're looking at both of them together to get the complete picture. Number 4, consider alternative feeding strategies. When pastures can't support the herd, confinement feeding or supplemental feed might make sense. With the proper ration, cows can maintain condition on a mix of grain and roughage, even with limited hay. Use a tool like Cow Bites, which is available in the show notes, or work with a nutritionist to build a ration that works with what you have. Consider early weaning. Cows are more likely to maintain an adequate body condition when they are not producing milk. Early weaning and creep feeding can reduce stress on the pasture and overall feed requirements because calves consume a significant amount of forage when they're with their dams. Number 5, take care of yourself and your people. Drought is stressful and can be overwhelming. Therapists from the Ag No Counseling Network recommend the following to help you deal with the stress of drought. Acknowledge your reality. It's okay to point out that this is hard. Sleep when you can. Get a full 8 hours of sleep is not always possible during busy seasons, but sleep is essential to rejuvenate your mind and muscles and keep you able to make the best decisions in the moment. When you can, practice good sleep hygiene to help you get a more restful night's sleep. This includes things like trying not to look at your phone an hour before bed, avoiding caffeine after noon, using your bedroom only for sleeping, and developing a bedtime routine. Check in with yourself. Consider using Ag No's anonymous self-check-in tool, How Are You Really? You can find a link to this tool in the show notes. This isn't forever. Drought feels endless, especially for those who've been dealing with it for years, but it's good to remember that it will also pass. Remember that success looks different this season. Focus on things you can control. You may not be able to control the weather or pasture yields, but maybe success in a drought looks more like managing through it in a way that can contribute to long-term sustainability. Remind yourself that this is tough, but I've done tough before, and you will do it again. And this is the reality of agriculture. When the clouds build and rain falls just a few miles away, it's easy to feel like the weather is against you. But in that moment, try to focus on what's still yours to manage. This shift in mindset can make a huge difference. Stay connected. Talk to your neighbors, your family. You're not in this alone. If the stress is too much, there are people who understand and want to help. There are several ag-informed mental health support organizations in Canada that can provide that support you need, and you can find a link to them in the show notes. Decision-making during a drought. It's never easy to make tough calls in a drought year. However, taking stock of the resources available to you and planning accordingly can help reduce risks, protect your land, and help keep your operation on track for the future. You don't have to do it alone. Reaching out to extension specialists, local producer groups, nutritionists, veterinarians, or mental health specialists can help you plan for both the short and long-term success. You can find links to more drought-related information in the show notes. Thank you to therapist Jenna Ibeck and Chi Burnett from the Ag No Counseling Network for providing mental health advice for this article.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. You can find all relevant links and information at beefresearch.ca or in the show notes. The Beef Cattle Research Council is funded by the Canadian Beef Cattle Checkoff and strives for excellence in the production of Canadian beef, cattle, and forage through research, innovation, and extension. Tune in every Tuesday as the Canadian Beef Cattle Podcast delivers straightforward insights, expert information, and a wealth of practical knowledge for Canadian beef producers. Subscribe now.